everybody, and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. And it's Friday afternoon, the day after the 2-0 victory at Old Trafford against Granada. The second leg victory. They've won 4-0 on aggregate now and are through to play against Roma. Roma went through against Ajax, so it's United and Roma in the semi-final of the Europa League. This is the ratings show. I've got the ratings in front of me from the Manchester Evening News from that game, and the Manchester Evening News have said about David De Gea that his most impressive contribution was a perfectly clipped pass to Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the first half, and he also made a good point-blank save late on, and they've given him an 8. An 8 is very good in my book, and I usually give a 7 to a keeper myself who keeps a clean sheet if he doesn't have lots of good saves to make. But they've given him an 8. I'm giving David De Gea a 6. I'm giving David De Gea a 6. There was 2 instances that I wasn't very impressed with at all. 6 is just decent to above average, by the way. That's all he had, a decent game. He did make one decent save, fair enough, and as I say, it was a decent save. But there was one where he came rushing out to a player who was coming in, who was just inside the box, and it looked like he was going to spread himself to try and gather the ball in, and he kicked it away. And the commentator said at the time it was a very unusual type of save, if you call it a save. It's not really a save, but it was unusual to see a top-level goalkeeper rush out to a player's feet and literally boot the ball away, rather than just going down and onto his side and collecting the ball. Which I think he would do more often than not. But then there was another one where he kicked it in the second half, where he came rushing out of his goal. He had to come rushing out of his goal. It was a through ball that wasn't going to quite reach the box. Had he not come out of his goal, obviously they could have come bearing down on him. But because he came out of his box, he got to it quite comfortably, quite easily. And again, he just booted it, and he booted it up in the air and up the field. And no harm done. But you can see Tellez in the picture as if to say, what are you doing? You just get hold of that and just pass it. You don't need to just rush out of your goal and just boot it under no pressure. So it's a couple of unusual things that David De Gea did in the game. None of them cost anything. None of them were a big problem. But just unusual goalkeeping. So, but still, he kept a clean sheet. I usually give a 7 for a clean sheet. But I'm giving David De Gea a 6 for last night's performance. Wan-Bissaka, they've said there was a moment where if United had a proactive right-back, they might have been played in for a go at goal. But Wan-Bissaka remains reluctant. You see that type of thing pretty regular from all players, really, when maybe they should play a ball that they don't play. I think just pointing out one occasion is a bit much, really, to say that. But they've given Aaron Wan-Bissaka a 6, and a 6, again, is decent to above average. I will agree with that. So I'll agree with 6 out of 10 for Wan-Bissaka. Victor Lindelof, they've put usually Lindelof is barely audible, but he was in the absence of Dean Henderson and Harry Maguire. By mentioning Dean Henderson there, is that a little go at David De Gea for being too quiet? Possibly. Embraced senior status, they've said, and they've given him a 7. It's difficult for me to tell how much more he was talking from watching it on the TV. I don't know if these people only watch it on the TV or being journalists, whether he might actually be in the stadium watching it and he might have an advantage over me. But Victor Lindelof, a 7, which is a good game. I think it's fair enough to say that Victor Lindelof had a good game. And then Axel Tuanzebe, a steady return on his first start since January, helped by the guidance of Lindelof, kept composed whenever under pressure. I said on my fan cam that I was a little bit surprised. I'm not surprised. I was disappointed that he went into a couple of challenges from behind and gave away soft free kicks. I've rewatched the game again. Not quite as bad having watched. I always say you see it differently watching it again rather than watching it live. And Axel had a perfectly decent game, and maybe fair enough to say he played well. And that's all it is. A 7 means he played well. So I would say Axel Tuanzebe played well, just like Lindelof did. Alex Tellez proactively supported Paul Pogba down the left. And was not quite as adventurous without him after the pause, assisted the late own goal, and they've given Alex Tellez a 6. I would say that a 6 is fine for Alex Tellez. That's decent to above average. I think he just had a decent game, that's all. The next two I'm going to speak about them at the same time. Fred and Nemanja Matic, they've given Fred a 6, and they've said pressed purposely to push United out of the pitch, but his shooting was back to normal. And Nemanja Matic perceptively teed up Fernandes, was prudent on the ball and not always risk aversive, a much needed run out, and they've also given him a 6. I'm giving Nemanja Matic. Anybody who can watch that game, and I've rewatched it again, and give Fred and Nemanja Matic the same score, you don't understand what you're looking at, or you're not watching it again. Look, to be fair, I always say this, it's difficult marking a game straight after the game. When you watch it again, you can see things completely differently. And Fred's only just deserving of his 6. 6 is a decent game, 5 is average. I'm tempted to downmark Fred to 5, but I'll settle with the 6. But Matic, I gave Matic man of the match on my fan cam, and having watched it again, I still think he's man of the match. I've made a note just from the first half, this, because it's too many things if you go through the whole game. Just from the first half, Fred tried a volley pass, a 15-yard pass to Cavani. He overhit it dramatically. It was an easy volley. It was directly in front of him, but it was off the ground. If it's off the ground, it's a volley. But he's got to do better. He miscontrols it. He misses Cavani. It's a 15-yard pass. Goes straight through to their centre-backs. Not good enough. Then he tries a diagonal ball out to the left wing that's not got the strength on it, and it reaches their fullback. The fullback doesn't have to stretch to clear it or head it clear. He just controls it and passes it. Not good enough. Excuse me. Then he tries a simple pass into one of our forwards just inside their half. It gets cut out in the centre circle far too easily. Not good enough. In the 27th minute, Matic gives a ball to Fred. When they're passing the ball around, they're waiting for the correct opening. They don't try and force it. The better players do not try and force it. Matic gives it to Fred. Matic should probably take it back from him, or he might be expecting Fred to turn and pass it out to the left. Fred tries a short diagonal pass into Greenwood's feet, gets cut out far too easily. Greenwood has to go in for a challenge and makes a foul, and on another occasion Greenwood might get booked, and it would be down to the slackness of Fred's passing. If that would have happened, he could have easily got booked. Excuse me. Don't know what's wrong with me today. 35th minute, he has a shot. The shot, look, let's be honest, let's not beat about the bush. The shot's nothing short of pathetic. I've just watched it. He's in the inside right channel. It's a difficult position to shoot from. I often talk about making the right decision being as important. He should know not to shoot from there. He's not close enough to being in line with the goal, and he's also left-footed. And to go for the near post from there with your left foot, it's just a shocking decision to start with. But then he's not the best. He's not got the best shot on him in the world, as they've said in the evening news. And he shanks it, and not only does it go wide by about 6 yards, but it bounces. I've just counted. It bounces 3 times before it goes out for a goal kick. It's absolutely horrendous. That was his shot, which is, that was probably one of his worst ones, but he doesn't often shoot much better than that. Anyway, and then in the 44th minute, he gets the ball about 10 yards outside the penalty area, looks up, and I think he tries a chipped ball over the defender for Greenwood to run onto. The defender doesn't even have to jump to head it clear. It's just not good enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 poor, even very poor things in the one half of the game. It's far too many. Even though you're doing some good things, don't forget about the good things. You've got to cut out the dross. In the same half, Matic, to me, only gave the ball away once. It was in his own third, but he was surrounded by players. I always look at the situation that you're in with. When you talk about pass percentages, I know I've said this before, what they can't point out in the pass percentages is, oh yeah, but he was in a difficult situation there when he tried to pass that. The ones I've spoken about Fred giving it away, he's not in a difficult situation. The only occasion I've seen Matic give it away in the first half, he's surrounded by players and he tries to get it past one player to another, to one of our players, and that player manages to cut it out. And the player who cuts it out is only 3 yards in front of him. He's not 10 yards in front of him. When the player's 10 yards in front of him, it's much easier to miss him out, get it over him or past him. But not only that, Matic is passing into the forwards' feet, crisp and sharp, giving it them with the right weight on it. And then also in the first half, Matic played the ball over to Bruno, a fantastic pick out for Bruno's volley that he volleyed over the bar. And people talk about the sideways passing. A lot of his passing's forward into the people's feet and getting the full backs going down the lines. But he also played another long ball up to the box where just inside their half, it clips one over to Greenwood on the edge of the box. Make no mistake, this isn't an accident. It's perfectly weighted. It's not too far for Greenwood to run and chase it. It's not gone straight through to the goalkeeper, as often happens with some of our long passes from some of our more favoured players. The pass from Matic to Greenwood is perfectly aimed at Greenwood, easy for him to head it down. And Greenwood heads it down to Cavani, and Cavani sets up Bruno, and Bruno shanks his shot, and it goes 10 yards wide of the post. But it's a fantastic long forward ball by Matic. That's 2.5. So that's only the first half. I could go on. Now they've given Fred a 6. They've given Matic a 6. All the really poor stuff was by Fred. There was hardly any really poor stuff by Matic. But on top of that, most of the really good stuff, what there was of it, was by Matic. How can these two players have the same mark? It's beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. And Robbie Savage in the commentary, by the way, said they need something along the lines of Fred and Matic need to get a grip and stop giving it away so much. They tar people with the same brush. I said this on my fan cam when they're playing near to each other. And it's not fair. It really isn't fair. It's not Matic who's giving it away poorly regularly. It's Fred. And he thinks it's both of them. I think, is it just because they're playing near to each other or something? I don't get it. So they're giving them a 6 each. But to me, I'll keep Fred on a 6. But I'd be tempted to lower him to a 5. But Matic, who was my man of the match, gets an 8. Mason Greenwood got into auspicious openings, but his execution was often awry. Should have converted Donny van der Beek's cross a 6. I know where they're coming from, but I think it's a little bit harsh on the cross. It could have just been. It was a decent ball in, but it could have just been doing 2 foot. Could have done with being about 2 foot further in front of him. He's doing a straight jump, maybe even leaning back a little bit. It wasn't an easy chance. Could have done a little bit better, but I think it's a bit harsh naming that. But I do think Mason was a little bit underwhelming, really, and they've given him a 6, which is just decent, and I would say fair enough, a 6 for Mason. Bruno, they've given a 6-2, a volleyed half chance. I've just spoken about that from Matic's pass, and bungled other good openings. I thought Bruno was pretty poor at times. I really did. They've put pointlessly played on beyond the 70th minute mark. They've given him a 6. They've spoken about the shot that he had over. Look, he could have done better with that shot, but it wasn't a bad effort. I won't mark him down for that. But there was a ball played to him on the edge of the box by Pogba, and he tried a ball over the top when he should have gone square. He had a shot when he should have gone square from about 30 yards, and he scuffed it wide. He had the shot that I've just spoken about, where Cavani laid him up and he scuffed it wide the other way. There was quite a few poor bits from Bruno. So I think I'd be tempted to say that Bruno had an average game. If I was to give him a 5, that'd be the lowest mark in the team, by the way. It was a dead rubber. We were 2-0 up. We won it 4-0. I might be 4-0 on aggregate. Maybe it's a little bit harsh to downmark anybody lower than a 6. So I'll stick with the 6 that the Manchester Evening News have said for Bruno. But there was a few too many poor things, if I'm honest. Paul Pogba. Now this is a dead interesting one on my part, and what I'm going to say about him. I think they've said the headed assist for Edison Cavani was deliberate and just as technically proficient, harshly booked, and in talismanic form again, sensibly substituted at the pause, and they've given him an 8. I'm giving Paul a 6, which is a decent to above average game. Now then, one or two people might be surprised. I've watched the game back again. I always say when you're watching it live, it's easy to get carried away with somebody's performance. I'm over the moon with Paul playing on the left. Really am over the moon. I think it's a step up from we normally have Marcus playing there. And I do think we played better when Paul plays there. I thought he played really well at Spurs. In the second half, he played there away to AC Milan. I thought he played really well. And because I was watching the game this morning and I was marking down some of the things that Fred had done, I noticed a few things that I wasn't happy about with Paul Pogba, and he was dispossessed too easily. Twice, once in his own third, once down near the corner flag where Telles just took a throw into him. He only got one man behind him and it bounces off him and he steps in front and follows it through. There's another situation where he does quite well in the left back area. He takes the ball down on his chest and runs forward with the ball until he's in their circle, in the centre circle, just about getting into their half. He's got Bruno 10 yards to his right. It's a simple pass. He tries a longer one out to Greenwood. There's no necessity to do that. We're on a great break. If he passes it to Bruno, we're moving forward at speed, but he tries a more difficult one to Greenwood. It gets cut out too easily. They say he was unlucky to get a yellow. Maybe he was unlucky to get a yellow card, but I think he was a tad lucky to stay on. It was his own loot. This is the important thing as well when I talk about doing things wrong and letting yourself down, in other words. But it was his own poor touch that led him into a challenge. This was after he'd had a yellow. Led him into a challenge that he didn't quite get his boot to, and he just didn't catch him hard, but he just caught the player who had the ball. He went to another player, he ran onto him, tried again, and just caught him and got a free kick given against him. And obviously all the opponents were surrounding the referee trying to get him sent off. And Robbie Savage in commentary said it's never another yellow card. What I would say, without any doubt, referees sometimes have it in their mind, this player's already on a yellow, so I'm going to treat him leniently on this occasion. It's difficult to expect a referee to completely have blinkers on and take each and every situation on its merits. Now, I'm not saying it was definitely a yellow, as Robbie said. Robbie said it definitely wasn't. What I am saying is, had it but not been on a yellow, I reckon at least 50% of referees would have booked him. He's a little bit late into one, doesn't hurt the player, doesn't even go down, but then goes into the next one. It's sort of two slightly late challenges in a couple of seconds. He's already on a yellow at this point. I would suggest that had he not been on a yellow, quite a lot of referees would have given him a yellow, and that could be the reason that the referee didn't give him a yellow. I also saw him give a simple pass to Fred in the middle of the field. It was a bit too heavy, and it went past Fred, and they got the ball, and they ended up with a shooting chance on the edge of the box. So I'm just there was too many sloppy moments in Paul's game, particularly in 45 minutes. So don't get me wrong here, by the way. I've been over the moon with him. You can't play brilliant every time you play. And he did do some brilliant things as well. You know, he beat men well, passed it well numerous times. But you've got to cut out so many sloppy things from your game. And there's a few too many things in one half of the game last night. Obviously, he made the goal superbly with the header. But to me, he just had a decent game, Paul, last night. There's, the balancing up of the good bits with the poor bits. He was just decent. But decent enough for me to say he needs to play again wide on the left on Sunday against Burnley. I'll be gutted if he's not okay, he didn't play quite as well yesterday as he played at Spurs or at AC Milan, but maybe he'll be back up to that level if you keep him in the team again on Sunday. Donny van de Beek, I only marked the subs to get half a game, and Donny van de Beek did get half a game. He picked out Greenwood brilliantly. That was the header that they'd just spoken about that they thought Greenwood should have done better with. And he says it should have given Van der Beek an assist. I'm not sure about that. Like I say, it's a difficult header. They've given him a 6. I would say fair enough. He had a decent game, Van der Beek. Nothing more than decent. But nobody's got lower than a 6. There's a couple of 7s. And Nemanja Matic, an 8. Nemanja Matic was the best. Oh, where's Cavani? I've not seen Cavani on there. Oh, I've missed out Cavani. Sorry about that. I remembered the commentator saying that Cavani was his man of the match. A fine finish for his second goal in as many games to ensure smooth passage through to the semi-finals. Could have had a second, and they've given him a 7. Sorry that I nearly missed Cavani out there. I thought that. Then, Cavani, a lot of people gave man of the match to. To me, Nemanja Matic was running the show for me. Hardly put a foot wrong, and Cavani did play well. A 7 is well, an 8 is very well, and I will say that Cavani had a good game. He played well, and a 7 is perfectly fine for Edison Cavani, and I hope he's fit and raring to go. Well, that's why they only took him off, obviously, to keep him fresh. I hope he's raring to go on Sunday. I'm going to give a quick mention to Juan Mata. I only mark the subs if they play half a game, and Juan Mata got about 10 or 15 minutes at the most, and it was a brilliant little cameo. They've said this on air. They've said a classic cameo from Juan Mata and given him a 6. I often say, how do you mark somebody who plays half a game or 3/4 of a game? Is it fair to mark him with the same basis that you're marking the players that have played a full game or who have played 80 minutes or 75 minutes? So Juan Mata, I understand that he's only worth a 6, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I understand that he's only worth a 6. He only played 10 or 15 minutes, and I won't disagree with it. What I will say is that in that 15 minutes that he played that well that if he'd played the full game and played like that for the full game, he'd have been on an 8 like Nemanja Matic. 2 little back flick passes straight to someone. I know I don't like back flick passes, but I particularly don't like them when they don't come off. He's got class about him. Absolute class. 2 lovely little passes. To him, it's so natural. It's almost like the normal passes rather than back flick passes. Steps over the ball once to let it run to the full-back was a nice move. Then he got the ball on the wing. I wish some of our players would think like this more often. Our goal, the last goal, he gets the ball and he's waiting for the moment for Van der Beek to overlap him, but they track him well. I can see Mata's brain working. They track Van der Beek well, and it's not really on. That's what he's waiting for, but they track him well. It's not on, so he goes a different way, and he moves across the field. When he moves across the field, I could name 4 of our players who would be looking to get a shot in and trying to shoot. He's not even thinking about getting a shot in. He knows it's not the best option. And what he does, he spreads the ball wide, and this is what I like about Juan Mata, and I wish some of our other players had this mindset. They will score more goals if they play like this rather than trying to get shots in from silly positions. So Juan was in a silly position, but a position that others would have tried to shoot from. He doesn't try to shoot. He passes it out to the wing and then makes his way into the box. You will get more goals like this, either for you or for the team or for your teammates. Or on this occasion, it's an own goal. You might think I'm going over the top because we happened to get a goal out of it. We did happen to get a goal out of it. But trust me, as I always say to Flex, trust me, Flex, this will work for you more often than shooting from stupid positions. Get it out wide, get yourself in the box. And that's what Juan does. He's the man who gives it to the fullback. Then he's the man who's challenging for the ball in the air. And the commentator said it was a bizarre own goal. It wasn't a bizarre own goal. The lad behind Juan Mata, he's only about 4 or 5 foot behind him. He hasn't got time to react. He thinks Juan's going to get his head on it. He doesn't quite. He gets a little bit of a glance on it. And then it just hits the player. I think it hits him in the face or something, and it bounces into the goal. So we do get a goal out of it. As I always say, it doesn't matter who scores the goals, but that goal is all about Juan Mata, and we could do with other players playing like that. And if he played the full game and played like that, Nemanja Matic would have had a contender with him for the Man of the Match award in my book. So it's Burnley on Sunday in the Premier League. I'm looking forward to that one. I'll be back tomorrow with a preview of that game. I hope you've enjoyed that little show. If you've enjoyed it, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.